Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you ever so much for waiting patiently for proclamation news and gatherings. It is Wednesday, the 23rd of June, coming into the last week of June. Got some amazing weather coming in July, but weather warnings of a heat rush coming in July. Early July, we're going to have a urban sunbeam coming down on us. The summer heat, everyone will be on the beach getting their suntan on. My eyes go absolutely aqua blue in the summer. When the skies are blue, my eyes go blue. My eyes are kind of jadey green usually in the winter months, but in the summer they go aqua blue. Thank you all for tuning in. It is proclamation news and gatherings with the prodigious, the prominent professor. Please subscribe to proclamation news and gatherings. We're live on Castbox. We're live on YouTube. I'm becoming a bit of an ambassador of speaking about the local tabloids. We've got tabloids, broadsheet newspapers. I like to think I'm a bit of a broadsheet commentator, speaker. I like to engage my critical thinking with what's going on around the dominion of the UK with a democracy at fault, always giving good guidance for UK road users. Criminology, talking about victims, offenders and re-offenders. Rehabilitation, it's important between our community. Me looking after the community which divides us into humanity and inhumane humanity. So do not be part of the Metropolitan Lunatic Asylum. To think first, think safety, think logical, be humane, not inhumane. You want to inspire, not expire. You want to be a good citizen standard inside the democracy, inside the UK. Why would you want to turn to criminology? Why would you want to get time behind bars or community service? Why not? Everyone's born with aspirations in life. What's your aspiration? Is your surroundings? Maybe it's your upbringing. You need to get out of that circle, move into a sufficient circle that's going to help you thrive with passion and pride. Absolutely. You can do adult learning. There's so many adult learning courses out there. If you're in a job you don't like, maybe you're a bricklayer or a lorry driver doing long hours, you're sick and tired of doing them long hours. You want a casual 9 till 5 job. You've got to take your cut. You've got to take your losses to gain that wisdom, that further knowledge, that adult free learning. But you might be an ordinary human being for a little while. But let me tell you, the richest man in the world is not the one with the most money, it's the one with the most health, is the wealthiest man in the world. Health is wealth. That's what you've got to remember. Money is not wealth or health. Money is wealth, but it's not health. Because when you've got loads of money, you can overindulge in alcoholism. You can overindulge in narcotics. You can overindulge in getting takeaways, fast food, eating bad habits. Use your knowledge wisely, gain and grant that extra wisdom to better your aspirations in life. Thank you all so much for, you're all part of the aristocracy social elite tuning in today. I'm so overwhelmed that we've got people that come by are preserved in themselves because they're listening in, and they're observed because they're picking up critical points that might make a change in their life. When I say make that change, you can make that change to better your aspirations, better your prosperity. Be prosperous when prosperity matters. Absolutely. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to P&G. I am the prodigious, the prominent professor at Proclamation News and Gatherings. If you listen to me clearly every day, my ethical news, you understand where I'm coming from. Thank you ever so much. Anyway, I just want to, before we go off into UK road incidents, I want to give out some shout. People want to be better. Thank you, Sammy boy. How you doing, buddy? Everyone wants to better their health. They want to make a change. Say you want to cut back on alcohol, mate. You want to cut back on narcotics. You want to be a better human being for your mother, your father, your niece, your nephew, your cousin. You know, you must feel guilty if you're smoking a J, or I don't know what you do, maybe bomb some speed or sniff some cocaine. I've been young once, don't get me wrong. We've all had silly habits and done stupid things when we're younger. We're in the maturity years where we want to grasp onto our knowledge, our wisdom, and be a better human being in society to fit in as a good community standard of a human being. Absolutely. So here we go. Make that change. Check out relax-uk.com. Relax UK Limited, health, travel and wellness products since 1997. I'll check that in a minute, Sammy. UK relaxation shops selling various ranges of products, relaxation, travel, well-being, biofeedback, sleeping and natural products. Fill your body with good substance. You're going to spend 40 quid on alcohol. Why not spend 40 quid in a relaxation shop, which is going to better your men's rehabilitation, your thought of being stupid, acting ironic, acting, you know, incompetent, incomprehensible and inappropriate. Why not fuel your body with something that's going to make you think in sufficient logical sense? Prince Andrew is a naughty boy. Absolutely, sir. We're not going to talk about Prince Andrew. I don't actually know quite about what the allegations of Prince Andrew, but I did see something in the tabloid. But that girl that he's with is legal. But again, it's not the correct thing to do for a 40-year-old to go with an 18-year-old girl, especially of all family. It's not good for the tabloids. But legally, it's legal, supposedly. I don't think it is, mentality-wise. But anyway, we're also sponsored by PSS Alarms. Very ethical and pragmatic work carried out. All areas were covered, including central station monitoring provided. All work done according to insurance requirements. This is a friend of mine's company. He's carried out works in Harry Kane's stepmother's house in Hertfordshire, Potter's Bar. He's carried out works in Essex, such as Casbah Restaurant, and many more big businesses. Installation and maintenance of intruder alarms, fire alarms, CCTV, all works guaranteed and certified to SSARB standard. 24-hour call-out service. Can provide CCTV for pubs, clubs, restaurants, or new business setups. Secure your business. Mention Professor Johnson for an extra discount. Secure your home, secure your business. Your safety and priorities within your business are paramount, so think safety, think first. Secure your equity. Here's the phone number, so please get yourself a pen or your mobile ready to jot down these digits if you do want this service to better your security of your household or your business setup. His name is Tarek Khan. Mention Professor Johnson for extra discount. And the number is as follows. 5 numbers first. 07908. I'll repeat the first 5 numbers again. 07908. Just in case you wasn't there. 07908. Last 6 numbers. 216142. 216142. 216142. The number, I'll repeat all together, 07908 216 142. And before you enter the UK roads, you really need to think about safety of you as a driver. You might be condoning your mannerism, your health, your well-being sufficiently before you enter the UK roads. You might not be driving under sleep deprivation. You might not be driving under alcoholism, you might not be driving under narcotics, but the minimal things you can do other than that is check your MOT, make sure it's updated, check your PSI limits, making sure your tyres have sufficient fuel, checking your engine oil, your water coolant tank are all topped up to maximum level, making sure you and passengers on board have seat belts adjacent to the car seat, and babies have their baby seat adjacent to the car seat with a seat safety belt strapped in to the car. So little things like that you need to make sure, because if you get on the road with an incompetent driver that's driving under the influence of alcoholism or narcotics, and he has an accident and he hits the back of your car, your passengers on board are going to have a serious injury, and you will not be able to claim if you haven't done the sufficient things I've just given out. Please check for road safety signs. Further police instructions. Check your centre and wing mirrors before acting into a safe, sufficient directional choice. These are some of the key skills that you need before entering a car, the things that you need to logic in your head every day when you get into a car for your own safety, your own benefit. Because if you have an accident, you're then not insured for that accident because you act incompetent. Them silly little things, these could be like the 10 commandments that Jesus give you. I am Allah. I am Jesus. No, I'm not. But I'm not Jesus. I don't tend to be Jesus. But I'm just trying to give a bit of safety guidelines. I want people to come by and think, we're coming on a good radio show. It's outlining some good, serious issues that need to be underlined within the UK. We need to get this guy's YouTube built up, more subscribers. We need more support for the platform because I'm talking sense. I've been doing this for how many years now? 3 years. Coming to my 4th year after Christmas doing this. I'm quite a phenomenal speaker, I'd like to say. I want to get on an FM platform on my own. Even if I do 2 hours slot a day or even an hour slot a day, I will do it. And I enjoy it because I enjoy talking to the community. I've been doing it for a philanthropist for 3 years. I'd like to get on FM. That is when I know I have made my place of stay where I belong. Absolutely. Looking after democracy as a whole is very, very important in my life. If I can do it by this and just by speaking, giving a good performance to you guys, it's all that matters. Anyway, UK road incidents. Here we go. Before I keep talking about myself, my narcissistic show. It'd be nice to talk about someone else, wouldn't it? But I've got no one else here. Usually I have my mate Aidan call in, but the trouble is it costs money to get the other thing. I'm not getting paid for what I do, unfortunately. It'd be nice to have Aidan on the show every now and then, and some other callers as well. It'd be nice to have other speakers that want to talk about some form of politics or, criminology in their constituency or something about the NHS where they need to support certain people. Vulnerable people, maybe they're not getting the right support they need. Just come on the show, talk about the support, not run them down because the NHS are tremendous at what they do. I went for my second vaccine yesterday and the setup is so phenomenal. It's unreal. How they turn out all their vaccines and how they keep social distancing is phenomenal. And how people give up their time just to do the job. They don't have to because a lot of people are furloughed off and don't want to go back to work. Anyway, in Bailey, A129. Heavy traffic in construction area. Heavy traffic on A129 London Road around the BP petrol station. In the construction area, temporary traffic lights in place. 23rd of June, 2021 at 9:25 a.m. This was first reported in Rayleigh. This was today, this morning. Just so you know, it's the 23rd today. Not everyone knows, so I'm just rejogging. Remember, I'm not taking the biscuit because it's not a nice thing to do. I treat everyone the same because we can make mistakes. I don't always check the dates. A127, queuing traffic heavier than normal. Queuing traffic and traffic heavier than normal on the A127. South End Arterial Road, both ways around A12 Gallows Corner. Queuing on all approaches to the roundabout. Always think about the logicness because, if you check these instances, road works, congestion, road closures, lane closed, weather instance, if you check these, I'm giving you a bit of an idea. If you check these, this could save your time to travel to destination. Imagine if your wife is giving birth, the waters are broke, you got to get to the hospital, but you haven't checked the roads. There's a crash on the A12 where you're going to the hospital. You can't get down that road because there's been a roadblock. You haven't checked the road map. It's hard in a case of emergency. It's hard to think of the obvious, but you've got to try and rehabilitate your mind to think whatever scare or thing that's going on in your mind. You've got to think, proact, and think it could be an instant check. It's hard to do. Trust me, I know. I've got the vaccine because I want to travel. I want a chance to travel. Without a vaccine, you can't go anywhere. They're going to make it mandatory very soon. That's exactly why I got it, and that's exactly what's going to happen. A2106. Road closed, accident, slow traffic. Road closed and slow traffic due to accident on A2016, Eastern Way, eastbound from Nathan Way at A2041. Harrow Manor Way. Closed since 9:30. 23rd of June at 8:59 was first reported. Whatever's in the vaccines is not harming me because I'm still a phenomenal, ethical and pragmatic speaker. Absolutely. I'm still gaining my PhD and diploma in university, sir. So whatever's in it, it's not going to harm me no more than alcoholism and narcotics is going to harm you, my friend. Anyway, let's look at the provocation caused in Essex, the criminology. Essex crime, Chelmsford boy, 11, left with fractured jaw. Fractured jaw, do you know what a jaw is? Because I've done sports science, a jaw is a mandible which is attached to your cranium. Oh my goodness, am I not just a phenomenal speaker? I'm attracting a widespread jurisdiction from sports science to a political criminology background. Essex crime, Chelmsford boy, 11, left with fractured jaw after being attacked by 8 teenagers in a bike robbery. I mean, what psychomotor state of a person, human being, who have to go to the lengths of beating someone up just to nick a mountain bike or push bike? That is beyond me. I don't know why someone would think it's going to beat this boy who's got a push bike. We can sell it for 30 quid down the road. Is it really worth getting, put in prison for it? Is it really worth getting? I don't know if they get put in prison or if they get, community service. Is it really worth getting that red mark against your name? It really isn't. Such a provocation cause for no relevance whatsoever. 11-year-old boy was left with a fractured jaw after being attacked by 8 teenagers in robbery in Essex. The boy had his bike stolen in 5th Avenue, Chelmsford, Essex, between 3:45 and 4 p.m. on Saturday, June the 12th. I mean, a lot of that is going on in young years. It's crazy what kids would go to just to get a bike for sale for 20 quid. They probably wouldn't want it to sell. They probably just want it to wag about and have a laugh with it, thinking it's funny. The bike, a black and white giant bike, is reportedly worth a 3-figure sum. Essex police are now appealing for witnesses or anyone who may have CCTV or dash cam or doorbell footage. A spokesperson for Essex police said, "We are investigating robbery in Chelmsford where an 11-year-old boy had his bike stolen and was left with a fractured jaw. It was reported he was approached by a group of around 8 teenagers in 5th Avenue between 3:45 and 4 p.m. on Saturday, the 12th of June. He was assaulted and needed hospital treatment and had his black and white giant bike worth £3,000 figure sum stolen. We need anyone who saw what happened or has CCTV or dashcam footage or doorbell footage to contact us." So if anyone is listening in and you was in that area or heard of anything that happened in that area, please do give the information and submit your report. You can do it online to www.essex.police.uk or use the live chat button to speak to an online operator between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. You're not a coward. You're not a grass. You're just acting sensible. You're acting like a good citizenship standard. Do you know what? It doesn't mean you're a weak human being to dob in on someone. That's what we got told to do. Dob in your grass. But don't worry about what people think. Why would you worry about what Adam and Eve think? You got to do what's good for humanities. Be a good community standard of a citizen. It's disgusting. Young boy got beaten up horrifically. His bike taken off him. He's heartbroken because his best bike's been taken off, and his jaw broken, which he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. It's Please quote 42115142/21. You can also call police on 101 or contact Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. I've just got to stop shortly. I've got someone writing in my cast box saying about why did I have the vaccine. Let me tell you why I had the vaccine. My son had COVID-19. My son's family were very, very ill with COVID. My ex-girlfriend, friend, friend, her father passed away of COVID. A lot more people in the world passed away of COVID than I have of a vaccination. So I weighed up the pros and cons of how many people died in the world of COVID. And I thought, I don't want to get COVID. I don't want to die. I don't want to risk my life. So I thought, let's get the vaccination just in case there's another strong variant coming through where you haven't had your vaccination and you've been the only one in the world that haven't had vaccination is going to die of COVID. So I'm not incompetent. I'm not inappropriate. I'm not incomprehensible. So I went with the logical side of things and thought, there's a chance I could get a blood clot through having AstraZeneca, but the chance is very, very minute in England. I think there's only been like 1 or 2 people who had a blood clot in England, not many been listed. So, I thought that's a good idea. COVID is not killing people. So why did my best friend's father die of COVID? And why did my son get it? And his mum, his nan, his granddad. So there you go. Anyway, I'm not having that conversation because millions of people are listening in and they're thinking, why is he talking to this incompetent kid that don't think it's COVID? You're one of those conspiracy theorists that think COVID is not relevant. Anyway, Dominic Cummings tried to bypass rules over 530k grant. Emails suggest you're one of them ASBO kids at school that probably didn't get any grades because you didn't want to educate yourself because you're going against everything that's written in black and white. Dominic Cummings tried to bypass the usual awarding process and fast-track a 530,000 government grant to start off the pandemic, leaked email suggests. In an email, the PM's ex-top aide told civil servants to immediately issue the cash, with no procurement, no lawyers, no meetings, no delay. Further emails show civil servants had concerns about the time frame and whether it was in line with the rules. The government said due diligence was followed in awarding the grant. We take these checks extremely seriously to ensure our contracts deliver results and value for money. The Department of Health and Social Care, DHSC, said the grant was eventually issued to the Project of Our World in Data, a research project run by a charitable organisation which academics at Oxford University in 4 installments from summer 2020. Mr. Cummins, who left his role in Number 10 in November 2020, has been contacted for comment. I'm not quite sure what I make of Dominic Cummins, but I think Boris Johnson made the right thing to get rid of him. A series of emails detailing discussions of grant requested by Our World in Data were leaked to the BBC's File on 4, Guardian and the source material. It began with an email sent by the founder of the project, Max Rosser, to William Moore, the Prime Minister's health advisor, who had not requested details on the funding it needed. The organisation said it had to retain key members of staff who were generating data on the pandemic. It also wanted to hire extra contractors and needed financial support for the rising cost of servers and technical infrastructure. The investment was passed to the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock. A minute after he received the email, he emailed Matthew Gold, I like Matt Hancock, the CEO, the Essex, the unit tasked with the NHS digital transformation, saying he supported the grant. No delay. An email from Mr. Cummins to Mr. Gold followed a couple hours later saying, someone please ensure that they have the 330k within 24 hours from now and report back to me it's been sent. No procurement, no laws, no meetings, no delay. Please just send immediately. Further email suggested this caused disquiet among the civil servants because of the quest to pay out the grant of money much faster than was normal. The DHSC's internal guidance, seen by the BBC, says that directly awarding grants without any form of competition is discouraged, but ministers such as Mr Hancock have wide-ranging powers to do so. The guidance is also clear that all grants should be subject to a series of timely checks and criteria. It says in some instances grants of more than 100,000 should be referred to any advice panel in the Cabinet Office. These safeguards are in place to ensure the value for money for taxpayers and to guard against corruption. The following day, Mr Gold said his team could meet a request through the DHSC and the money in place by tomorrow, but it would mean waiving the normal grant giving the process. I don't want to do anything untoward but give the Secretary of State, Dom Cumming, a strong steer. I'd really welcome your help, advice, green light, he wrote to a colleague. Processes weren't followed. A more junior civil servant responded saying the team needed to make the appropriate checks to avoid leaving the accounting officer overly exposed. Then, more than 24 hours later, the same civil servant suggested possible solutions, setting out the minimum criteria that needed to be met if the grant was to be paid. But, he wrote, Matthew Gold, I need your help, please, to process this to a point where there is enough air cover to justify a decision to proceed. Peter Smith, a former government commercial director and former senior advisor to the National Adult Office, said the air cover reference means you're doing something that is going to go down badly with the media or public, so you need to have some backup, some explanation. The civil servant's final email said, I'm sorry I couldn't just make this happen, but I share your concern about doing anything untoward. In fact, the organisation that had been looking for the money then put the brakes on the application. Our world in data asked for more time to understand the implication of accepting government money and to consult its trustees. It went on to receive a grant in instalment and the project said it complied with its own procedures. Max Rosa, the founder and director of the project, told BBC a full grant application was submitted on 25th of March 2020 and this was followed by an agreement dated 3rd of April 2020. I have no way to know the internal process inside the government, he said. The project said its work had added value in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. With its testing and vaccination data, web page is receiving about 65 million visitors. Mr. Cummins is a dodgy geezer, a dodgy parliamentarian. How horrific. I've had some guy, let me just, before I move on to the next part of the article, I just want to, I've had a guy come through called Sammy Boy. He's been acting a bit peculiar. Joe, you get, what do you call them, lurkers. You get lurkers come through to you. I don't know if you can see my phone. I'm on Castbox. You get people come through. They can call in on Castbox. You get people comment. He's been commenting saying he reckons COVID vaccine is killing people. They are killing people deliberately. For somebody who claims to be clever, you need to read about what is going on, and we are going into 1984 society. You're an idiot if you think otherwise. I think he's a bit lost with the theories of, I don't know, narcotic abuse that he's been up to. I don't know. He's one of those boys that go buy the buy, not buy the book. He goes buy the buy. He's got ADHD. He's incompetent. He's incomprehensible, and he's inappropriate to humanities. He's not using what's behind his cranium before he uses philanthropies to type a message. He's like one of them keyboard warriors trying to come by my aristocracy social league show where I've got people that come here very observed and preserved. That's why they're part of the my aristocracy social league, because they come to my show most days, enjoy the show, and they participate with what I'm talking about some days. Not always, but the start of the show was always my phenomenal 15-minute speech. My own thoughts. So that shows a positive, powerful influencer before the start of the show. And I get it. People like that coming in, being inappropriate for no reason whatsoever. And now he's gone. He's a lurker. But anyway, I'm going to do this next segment and we're going to have a short break because I like reading what's in their broadsheet newspaper. Important that we keep up to date with what's going on around the world, plus the road incidents and some of the criminology that'll give you updates as well. Emphasised by my habilitations, I'd like to say, guys. COVID spreading among football fans at home, says Professor. We told you earlier about the concerns over the plans to host up to 60,000 football fans at Wembley for the Euro 2020 final and semi-finals. This is what I was going to get into within, my further stages of my shows that I've had in the past. I thought if they're going to start opening up back to normal, they're going to have all these hospitality sectors such as football, concerts, live bands, all them kind of things. This is when people, if England score, they're all going to cuddle each other. We've seen it past England experience matches, especially in my constituency down the local pub. You got guys jumping on top of police cars, hugging each other because of England has scored. People acting inhumane. It's not going to happen just in England. It's going to be around the whole of Europe while these games being played. But a professor of psychology believes COVID is more likely to be spread among people watching football at home than in stadiums because people are gathering in groups, aren't they? Intensely, I think the major problem in football is not people at the matches. It's people at home not taking precautions there, says Peter Breacher, Professor of Psychology at St Andrews. Because football becomes celebration. Celebration usually becomes in a 85% of a normality, what you'd like to call normality, English code of celebrating is having a drink, which I don't drink. I haven't had a drink for 4 years. It'll be my 5th year this year. I'm not even interested in a drink. It's probably the worst poison you can stick in your body. But each to their own devices. Don't get me wrong. Some of the best politicians, presidents in the world, they will have a drink in the evening, a whiskey or whatever. So, each to their own devices. But I will not turn back in that, frame of mind. Anyway, interestingly, I think the major problem with football is not people at the matches. It's people at home not taking precautions. I saw the data from Scotland yesterday showing that whereas 2 or 3 weeks ago, the ratio of men and women who get infections was roughly the same. Now it's about 3 times higher for younger men. The obvious explanation for that is people meeting up, forgetting restrictions and infecting each other. Professor Reacher tells BBC Radio 4's Today programme, the point is that 60,000 people at the match sends a message to 60 million. If they can go meet together, then why can't they? If they are jumping up and down and hugging when a goal is scored, then why can't we? I'll tell you what, another thing as well, I'm going on traditional quantitative evidence. A woman is more likely to stay at home doing chores, while a guy will go to motorbike ride out with his mates, or he'll go to a car show or something. The woman's always 9 times out of 10 going to stay at home rather than go out with her friends, get her nails did and go down the gym. Most women stay at home and be a housewife. That's why a lot of women are not going to get as affected as much as men. Australian couple kept from dying father. That's what I want to get into next, ladies and gents. Son desperate to see his dying father in Australia has been denied quarantine exemption by the state of Queensland, meaning he and his wife had spent 14 days in hotel isolation before they can visit Mark Killen's father, who has a pancreatic cancer. Couple were granted exemption to COVID-19 border closures by the Australian federal government, but the state of Queensland has denied their request. I think it kind of just shattered him, says Mark, whose father was moved to hospital soon after he learned he would not be able to see his son immediately. Queensland Health has denied exemption 4 times, but have put forward no solution, says Mark partner. And Nelia Agreki, a spokesperson of Queensland Health, has defended its policies, saying it would always put the safety of the Queensland Community First, and our quarantine policy has been successful in keeping our community safe. The couple are both fully vaccinated and have returned 3 negative COVID tests. I'm battling to come home in the terms of heartlessness, says Mark, who insists the couple do not present a health risk to the people of Queensland. Now it is the right time for Wembley crowds, Culture Minister. Culture Minister John Whittingdale has defended the government's decision to allow 60 fans to attend Wembley to the final or semi-finals European Championship. The Euro 2020 matches are due to be part of the government's event research programme, which has included the Snooker World Championship in Royal Ascot and will encompass the Wimbledon finals. Whittingdale tells the BBC Breakfast, now is the right time to test at 1 or 2 of the bigger events, which, if successful, would enable wider relaxation of restrictions. Events we have held so far have shown very successful results, and we will publish the analysis of that quite soon, and will be on the basis of that analysis that we decide whether or not it is safe to apply those relaxed restrictions across the economy and more widely. Amid suggestions that 2,500 football industry personnel intending to come to Wembley will not be required to quarantine, he says the government is still talking to UEFA, but officials coming to UK will remain subject to restrictions when entering the country and moving around. They won't necessarily be allowed to just travel around the country. At every stage, we'll be taking advice from the Public Health England and will only reach an agreement if we are absolutely confident that it doesn't put health at risk. NHS frontline coming under pressure. Sammy is not very well, wherever he's from. He's from Metropolitan Lunatic Asylum. Thank you for giving me a like on YouTube, guys. I appreciate you guys, all you observers, listeners. It's amazing. I've got people on my cast box commenting about that Sammy boy that was acting irrational. It's like an irrational, rash. It's like a irrational rash, chicken pox or something. It's annoying. Annoying little flea. He's gone now, though. NHS frontline coming under huge pressure. Saffron Caudry, Deputy Chief Executive of NHS provider, says the situation in NHS hospitals is really changing. Trust on the front line are really coming under huge pressure. They have plans in place to tackle the backlog, but with more COVID cases and demand for emergency care going up, that's really changing, she tells BBC Breakfast. She says the number of people in a ventilator beds in hospital has gone up to 41% in the past week. So that's really a strong indication now of how COVID is impacting again. We are really worried that if we have further surge over winter, alongside all those usual elements that we see in winter, we're going to face a significant challenge. We're just going to have an amid break, guys. Only a short amid break. I'm going to make a cup of tea. I'm going to come back, sit here. We've got a couple more segments in the local constituency of Essex, and we've got one more politics to get through as well. I like to talk about the criminology in Essex, so make sure you stay tuned. We've got James O'Brien on for a short jiffy. Nothing wrong with a bit of James O'Brien in the morning. I like James O'Brien as well. He's got irrational behaviour, but we like it. We like his irrational behaviour. Come on, James O'Brien. Make some noise.
And convictions have plummeted on his watch.
Oh, no.
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as he knows very well, because he has some experience of this matter, there are considerable evidential problems, particularly in recovering data from mobile phones, and that has been an obstacle to the speedy preparation of cases. And too often, let's be frank, too often cases go from the police to the Crown Prosecution Service, not in a fit state, and too often those cases are not in a fit state when they come to court. And there is not a good enough join-up, Mr. Speaker, across the criminal justice system. And that is exactly what we are addressing, Mr. Speaker, now by our investments with our end-to-end rate review. And what would be good, Mr. Speaker, is if we have some support from the opposition for tougher sentences for rapists and serious sexual offenders. What kind of a signal does it send when they won't even back tougher sentences, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister knows very well why we voted against his bill, precisely because it did more to protect statues than women. But since he's brought it up, Mr. Speaker, let's address the central question. Prime Minister, 98.4% of reported rapes don't end up in a charge. 98.4%. And therefore, can you tell me, point to what provision in the bill, what clause, what chapter, what part of that bill will do anything to change the fact that 98.4% of reported rape cases don't end in charges and don't get to sentence? Which clause, part, chapter, or words in that bill? Point to one thing.
Mr. Speaker, we'll only point to section 106 and 107 of that bill, which Labour voted down, Mr. Speaker, which would have stopped the early release of rapists at their halfway point in their sense. What kind of a signal, what kind of a message does that send, Mr. Speaker, to people who commit the crimes of rape? It is very, very important that the message should go out from this House of Commons that we will not tolerate a serious sexual violence. And I'm afraid that the right honourable gentleman has not been supporting that message. What we are doing now is bringing forward measures by investing in independent domestic violence, independent sexual violence advisors to ensure that victims and survivors of the crime of rape have people in whom they can confide and trust throughout that miserable period when they're in the criminal justice system. And another thing we're doing, Mr. Speaker, is recruiting record numbers of police officers. And I'm proud to say that 40% of our new recruits are female, Mr. Speaker, which I believe will be a great consolation and use to those who are victims and survivors of rape.
Starmer, what an appalling answer. I asked him why 98.4% of cases aren't getting into the system. He talks about a sentence. That is the problem. If the Prime Minister thinks that's the answer, that is why we've got these terrible rates of conviction and of prosecution. The answer is there's nothing in that bill. The truth is, victims of rape are being failed. Now, Mr. Speaker, they're not just my words, they're in the government's own report. Victims of rape are being failed. There's no escaping that appalling figure, Prime Minister. 98.4% of rape cases ending without anybody being charged. And those that do get in the system take years to go through. Does the Prime Minister accept that cuts to the criminal justice system have contributed to that appalling situation?
Prime Minister. No, Mr. Speaker, because we've increased the numbers of people in the CPS by at least 200, Mr. Speaker, specifically dedicated to helping to prosecute the crime of rape and sexual violence. And Mr. Speaker, we are absolutely determined to stamp it out. This is a problem that has been going worse because of the evidential difficulties caused by the data recovery process and the lack of unity, the lack of joined up thinking between all parts of the criminal justice system. That is something that this government is now addressing by more investment, by putting more police out on the street, and also by having tougher sentences. And finally, it would be good to hear him support it.
Here's Starmer. Mr. Speaker, I spent 5 years as Director of Public Prosecution, prosecuting thousands of rape cases. I don't need lectures, but I do know the impact of cuts on our criminal justice service. The government can't make cuts, significant cuts to the Crown Prosecution Service, 25% cuts to the Ministry of Justice, closed half the courts in England and Wales, yes, half the courts, and now pretend that a small budget increase will solve the problem. But, Mr. Speaker, this is more than just about cuts. The rate review is welcome, but it's weak. The Victims Commissioner, the government's Victims Commissioner, described the review as underwhelming. It could have been 10 times stronger. That review is littered with pilots and consultations on proposals that have literally been discussed for years and years. It is so unambitious. Mr. Speaker, isn't it the case that despite these shameful figures, and they are shameful, the government still isn't showing the urgency needed to tackle the epidemic of violence against women and girls?
Minister. No, Mr. Speaker, because we've also brought in the landmark domestic violence bill, which, again, it would have been good if we'd had wholehearted support from the Labour Party opposite. And Mr. Speaker, no, because this government has brought in much tougher sentences for serious sexual and violent offenders. And he can't, no matter how much he wriggles and squirms, Mr. Speaker, he can't get away from the simple fact that on a 3-line whip, he got his party to vote against tougher sentences for serious sexual and violent offenders. That, Mr. Speaker, is weak.
Yes, Scott.
You could always tell when he's losing, Mr. Speaker.
I want both sides. It's a very, very emotive and important issue. I need to hear the question and the answers. I certainly don't expect.
Bear with me, guys. I'm just gonna, I like listening to PMQ. PMQ is very, very important to my life because Parliament is the biggest judiciary in the world. So I like listening to David Attenborough. You know, how the world obviously evolves around population growth. It evolves around pollution. It evolves around living on our national resources, doesn't it? Our resources, how the world can dissolve our resources by population growth, building new houses, taking up all the agriculture land, all that kind of stuff. I like listening to what's going on in Parliament. It means a lot. I mean, like Boris is saying about criminology within rape and things like that, you know, what goes on through human trafficking in schools and, you know, so much that goes through Parliament that can affect our day-to-day regime in your children's life, in your own life. If you're, even if you're a guy and it could happen to your wife while you're going to work, you know, anything. So I like listening to what's going on around the world. I mean, I always give up road incidents, updates, criminology that goes on throughout the youth of today, narcotics distribution that goes on throughout the youth of today. Kids get bullied by narcotics, which a lot of parents don't acknowledge. Kids can get bullied throughout schools of narcotics, becoming distributors themselves, not getting the education and going to go get a foundation job. You're getting bullied to get educated to go and sell narcotics. You know, there's a lot of things that can affect our everyday today life. So, you know, seeing what's going on around in the local tabloids helps. It's good for your mind as well. It's good for your mind. It's therapeutic to see what's going on around the world, I think. That's why I study history and politics. And this is what I do in my day-to-day regime. I hope you appreciate my show, and I hope I can build a better platform and build a loyal support base.
The Levelling Up Fund is a superb opportunity for local areas like Calderdale Council to improve infrastructure and relieve the misery in local areas. With that aim, will my right honourable friend take a serious look at Calderdale's submission, which lacks support, has no consultation nor consensus with partners, and instead of relieving infrastructure problems, ploughs on with one of the council's failed and doomed projects, which does nothing at all to level up and has no support locally?
I thank my honourable friend for his question, and I hope very much that the Levelling Up Fund has the potential to do massive good for Calderdale and indeed the whole country. And I hope that Calderdale Council will have listened to his strictures this morning and this afternoon and will act.
They now come to the leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning, the Herald newspaper revealed that in the middle of the pandemic, Tory ministers secretly directed funds from an emergency COVID contract to carry out polling on the Union. This evidence was uncovered in official documents submitted to the High Court, so the Prime Minister would be well advised to be very careful in his answer to this question. And it's a very simple question. Did the UK government use a £560,000 emergency COVID contract to conduct constitutional campaigning on the Union?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid I'm not aware of the contract to which the Right Honourable Gentleman refers. What I can tell him is that I think that the union and the benefits of the union have been incalculable throughout the COVID pandemic, and that the vaccine rollout, which I've just mentioned to the Right Honourable Gentleman opposite, is of course something that vaccines have been pioneered in Scotland. They've been brewed in Oxford, bottled in Wales, rolled out throughout the UK, and I think it's a tribute to the union that he seeks to undermine.
Ian Black.
Prime Minister has just demonstrated, not for the first time, that he hasn't got a clue. Mr. Speaker, the answer to the question is yes. Whether it's redecorating the Downing Street flat or siphoning off COVID funds for political campaigning, the pattern is clear. The Tories simply can't be trusted. Because, let's be very clear as to what happened here. These emergency COVID contracts were supposed to be used for things like PPE, for our brave doctors and for nurses fighting COVID. Instead, during the height of this deadly pandemic, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster used these emergency contracts to commission political research, and I quote, on attitudes to the UK Union. What's worse, he handed these lucrative contracts to long-term friends and former employees. In essence, this was a UK government contract that sanctioned corrupt campaigning, Prime Minister. If the Prime Minister has even a shred of credibility, will he now commit to a full public inquiry on this gross misuse of public funds?
General Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can't think of a better use of public funds than making sure that the whole of the UK fights the COVID pandemic together. And that's what we do. And thanks to the UK Treasury, we were able to spend £407 billion supporting jobs and families in Scotland, Mr. Speaker. We were able to use the British Army to send vaccines throughout the whole of the UK, Mr. Speaker. I believe that the story of this last 2 years has shown the incalculable value of our union and the strength of our union, and that we are better, Mr. Speaker, together.
Mark Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's groundbreaking 10-point plan for a green industrial revolution has ambitious targets for a switch to zero-emission electric vehicles and the UK's automotive manufacturers.
Well, not for the first time. I actually know it's not fair to say that Blackford put Starmer in the shade there. It was something a bit grim. It pains me to say this, but it's the tactic of the right-wing radio phone-in host to be asked a question about why rape convictions are so low and answer it by just shouting about rapists being released from prison. I mean, it is so patronising to the British people, but I've given up wondering why people aren't. It's all very well me being offended on your behalf. If you don't feel patronised and insulted by that sort of conduct, then there's not a great deal I can do about it. So Thea and I both scurried to our desks as that question came in from Ian Blackford, the Westminster leader of the SNP. I thought he was referring to a tale on the front of The Guardian today in which Cummings told officials to ignore the rules over the allocation of a £530,000 contract. The Prime Minister's former chief advisor urging officials to bypass government procedures in March of last year. But it's a different story, and it brings us back, Theo, to, I think, to give credit where it's due, is on the front page of the Herald up in Scotland today, but it brings us back to that company, Public First, who have already been found to have received a contract unlawfully, according to the High Court.
So Ian Blackford raised this issue, and of course it comes as leader of the SNP in Westminster. It comes after the SNP has called for an inquiry into the misuse of public money by Conservative ministers. And this...
I'm going to pause that there, guys. We're going to get on with the news. Brexit on the dish, I like to say. Brexit dish. Brexit for breakfast. Brexit for breakfast. We exit with the Brexit, didn't we? Kind of. With a slight spin, I like to say. Brexit, EU citizens given 28-day deadline to apply to stay in the UK. Immigration enforcement officials will begin giving EU citizens who live in the UK a 28-day warning to apply to remain, the government says. I know this because my friend is Spanish. and she's applied to go back to Spain because of all this is what's gone on. Obviously, I've been supporting Brexit, so it kind of left on deaf ears. But she still is a good friend of mine. Well, my class is a good friend. We're not talking anymore, unfortunately. But we was just sociable friends that she liked to engage. I like to leap in deep with politics because it's my forte. It's on my resume. Media studies is on my resume as well. As a young age, at the age of 14 up until 16, I've done media studies at high school. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed reading the tabloid. I thoroughly enjoyed reading the broadsheet newspaper. All depends on the mood I'm in, because if you're in a tired mood, you don't want to sit there and read a broadsheet newspaper. Doesn't matter how intelligent you are. Doesn't matter how big business minded you are. How much money you got behind you. It is the fatigueness of each personnel who reads. Anyway, but the Home Office will allow people to indefinite time to complete an application for settled status if they have a reasonable excuse for delay. There is a week to go until the deadline for applications. Some 5.6 million European Economic Area EEA citizens and their dependents have applied for settled status, but there are around 400,000 cases outstanding, and the government's helpline is receiving thousands of calls a day. After the 2016 Brexit referendum, which took place precisely 5 years ago, settled status was introduced for citizens of the EU, the EEA, living in the UK. It allows them to retain the same rights of residence, travel, employment and access to healthcare and benefits. The countries whose nationals have made the highest numbers of applications are Poland, 975,000, and Romania, 918,000. Immigration Minister Kevin Foster said anyone whose application was not concluded by next week's deadline was not lose out, as their rights were protected in law. He added that immigration enforcement officials will begin issuing a 28-day notice to people, advising them to apply for settled status. Migrant groups had voiced concern that children would be among those who had not applied. But Mr. Foster said there would be an indefinite period where people who had not applied would be allowed to do so if they had reasonable grounds. He gave the example of students who might discover when applying to university for the first time that they did not have a settled status. I know this because I've had to apply for my second year of university. You need a settled status. If not, you have to put your immigration application in with the university to get accepted for student finance for this academic year. It's very, very important that you're obliged by the rules or you get returned back to your place of birth residence. It's very, very important. You know, it's not people being rational, it's just people being accepted within the law of rights. Biggest judicial in the UK. People get so angry and aggressive about politics, but if you don't understand the realms, the blueprint of politics, you've got no hope in land. Change guidance. Make Bowen, co-founder of EU Citizens campaign group, the 3 Million, said, "It's good that people can apply late, but the crux is they're unlawful as they haven't put an application in. Those eligible and not applying on time become unlawful and risk losing work, housing, access to free health care and so much more." Mr. Foster said existing benefit claimants would not have their payments stopped if they had not been granted settled status. But he said no one could begin a benefit claim, job or tenancy in England without settled status. He also said the Home Office had changed guidance to border officials after reports that some EU citizens had been detained for long periods at the border last month. Speaking to the House of Lords European Affairs Committee on Tuesday, he said, "I want to get as many people through the door before the 30th of June as possible." The EEA is made up of 27 EU states plus Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway. I mean, it's hard, isn't it? If you're a foreign citizen, EU citizen living in UK, you're trying to live a a normal economic life to keep your uphold of your house moving swiftly. You're going to work. So if you need to get this status to stay in the UK, you need to speak to the person with the authority within your business to help you claim this application. Otherwise, it's going to put your rent in arrears. It's going to put your bills in arrears. So you need help, support in your workplace. So you're getting finance to take time out to do this resident status in the UK. Speak to your boss, and if your boss doesn't know, you need to get your boss to contact Citizen Advice to get help and support whilst at work, that you get your status sorted. You might have to take a day off, but make sure you get paid sick or leave. Make sure you get what you're worth. Know your worth. It's important to know your worth. Just because you could be a legal immigrant if you don't get your things sorted. At a minute, you've got a status to be working in the UK. So you've got your rights to stay within the UK, just abide by the guidance. You've got to ring Citizen Advice. It's important that you get your landed residence within UK rights. Why is it settled status? EU nationals living in the UK have until the 30th of June to apply to stay in the UK. They can apply for settled status on offer to anyone who can prove that it had been in the UK continuously for 5 years or more before the 31st of December 2020. As of 31st of May, it has been granted to 2.75 million people pre-settled status on offer to anyone who had been in the UK for less than 5 years by the end of 2020 as of the 31st of May. It has been granted to 2.28 million. They can apply for settled status in the future, but there is no guarantee they will get it. It's important that you know this, guys. If any of you got foreign friends or citizens in your workplace, your colleagues perhaps working alongside you, you could be an athlete, you could be a professional boxer or football player, you need to get your national residence within the UK. There you go. If you're an air hostess, if you're a dentist, if you're a doctor, it's important. If you're in the NHS or a doctor, you're going to get the support you need. If you're a football player, a professional football player, you're going to get the right guidance to get your residence. Absolutely. You might have to apply with your local. No, you don't have to apply with your embassy. You have to apply to the Parliament. The Parliament, as you need to apply for to get your national residence. I'm assuming. But short break, guys. Come and drink my cup of tea, and I'll get back. We've got a lot on the last segment in the constituency of Essex.
That's great. What would
James
you
O'Brien,
have asked Boris Johnson if you were the leader of the Labour Party right now? What question would you have gone in with? Because there was a couple of good lines there, one from Ian Blackford, one from Keir Starmer, but there's lots of other stuff. This is a test, actually, of my saturation point theory. What question do you consider to be the one he should be most urgently required to answer? It's 12:30. Thomas Watts, how's your headlines?
A police officer has been found guilty of the manslaughter of former footballer Dalian Atkinson. PC Benjamin Monk, who is 43, was cleared of an alternative charge of murder over the ex-Aston Villa striker's death in 2016. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer has challenged Boris Johnson on the record low level of rape convictions in England and Wales. The Prime Minister's told MPs that funding has increased and improvements to the justice system are planned. Ministers say they won't do anything to put public health at risk at Euro 2020. The government's considering a deal with UEFA to allow VIPs to skip quarantine when they come to London for the semi-finals and final at Wembley. The weather cloudy with some light rain for parts of North Wales, Northern England, Northern Ireland and Scotland. Elsewhere, largely bright, dry and warmer, a high of 22 Celsius.
This is LBC.
By getting our jabs for strolls in the sun.
By wearing our masks, even when we're the face of the business.
By washing our hands before making other hands look pretty.
By testing ourselves regularly before big days out.
We can protect ourselves, each other, and the life we love.
If everyone in Essex chooses to do the same, we keep COVID in check together. To find out more from Essex County Council, visit essex.gov.uk/COVID-19 for more details.
How's things?
You know what? My salon just got proper official with some up.
I can take a card now.
Ooh.
Send simple payment links through any messaging platform.
Ooh.
Set up my own online store. Create professional invoices.
Ooh.
I can even take simple contactless payments.
Ooh.
Anyway, just tap here.
Oh.
No contract, no monthly costs, just easy, flexible payments. Sum up, make your business official.
You pay your business credit card back every month. Your business credit card pays you back every month. At Barclaycard Business, we do things differently. So with the Barclaycard Select Cashback Credit Card, we pay you back 1% cashback on all your eligible business spend, with no cap and no annual fee. To apply for a card for your business, search Barclaycard Business. Cashback T's and C's and exclusions apply. The approval of your application depends on your financial circumstances and borrowing history. T's and C's apply.
Running a small business involves rapidly responding to change. Technology evolves, trends come and go. In these uncertain times, it's vital to maintain momentum. Keep pushing forward. Close Brothers can help you do just that by taking time to get to know your business, by offering fast, firm lending decisions from experienced industry specialists, by helping your business not just survive, but thrive. Find out what we could do for your business at closebrothers.com.
Your business knows no bounds thanks to Three's boundless business offer. Our unlimited call and data SIM packs are up to 5 times cheaper than the other big networks. So whether you have a team of 10 or 50, they're just £5 each. And with all that data, your team are bound to be productive wherever they are. Switch now. Search 3 Business or visit us in store.
Excludes VAT. Price comparison based on advertised SIM prices on Vodafone, O2 and EE websites on the 14th of May 2021. Terms apply. See 3.co.uk/terms/business.
Welcome back to Fully Charged, the electric vehicle quiz show. Laura from Trust Ford. How far can the new Mustang Mach-E go on a single 10-minute charge? Up to 73 miles. That's a week of school runs and getting to work. Correct! You are the fully charged experts. Visit trustford.co.uk and we'll find the right car for you. Terms and conditions apply based on test conditions, extended range and may vary. 10-minute charge and 150 kilowatt charger. Visit trustford.co.uk for details.
James O'Brien on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
12:35, so back to holidays shortly. And if you want to have a crack at the question that is there a killer question? I think sometimes we're all a little bit, and this applies to all Labour leaders, including the one that I liked Jeremy Corbyn's tactic of reading out questions that had been submitted by members of the public. I thought that was actually quite powerful. But it is very easy to criticise. We're watching the football and shouting about what Gareth Southgate should do, but probably deep down most of us recognise that if we were actually in the dugout, we'd be wibbling and wouldn't know which way to turn. So we're all armchair critics. Is there an absolute humdinger? Because you are almost, I would say that you're...
You know what? James O'Brien, I listen to him quite a lot in the mornings when I wake up. He is exactly correct in what he says. We all armchair critics. Even he is. Really, to an extent. He can sit there. We've all got our own opinions. Our opinions matter, obviously. We can argue the rights and wrongs within Parliament. Boris, our Prime Minister, a lot of the critics in social media go against him. Not always with him correct. With him all the way, everything he says. He's not always politically correct. Some things he does, like the farming industry, with the, getting the economics moving forward in England. He's got the biggest country in the world. Got David Attenborough on one news saying we need to supply of our national resources within our UK, about population growth in the UK. And then next minute, we're doing trade talks, which Australia is part of the EU. We're doing a trade deal with an EU country, Australia, which is one of the biggest countries in the world. So we're going to be doing distribution. We're farming. We're the biggest country in the world, which is they're going to be taking a lot of lamb meat, things like steak as well. I believe I didn't quite get the ins and outs. I know it's definitely lamb is one of the main produce is getting imported into Australia, which the size of Australia is about 8 times bigger than UK. To me, it doesn't make sense. But At the same time, Boris Johnson's obviously got on his own back. We need to get the economy moving. We need to get people back in business, earn some money, bring some money back into the UK. I think that's probably half of Boris Johnson's argument. But at the same time, we've got David, like I said, the David Attenborough point of view. We need to start dividing our national resources sheepishly to provide, for us to live a healthy, not us, but our grandchildren and their grandchildren's children, to make, to live, for them to live a happy life without worry when we get buried that they're going to have a nice life. Some people say when we're dead, doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter. Of course it matters. It matters that we have reproduction for generations and generations. Of course it does. We want our offsprings to have a wealthy and healthy life. Of course we do. Absolutely. Almost half of universal credit claimants see their benefits cut. That is absolutely correct. It's happened to me. It's probably happened to a lot of people within the UK. A lot of people are going to struggle for that because summer's opening up. They're dropping in the universal credit. I've been hit with a working tax credit fine. I haven't worked in donkey's years. Everything I've done over the years for the last, I was boxing as a charity boxer. Everything went to my son has got slight brain damage. Also, he's got brain damage. Actually, he's got he's got cerebral palsy, 4 limbs cerebral palsy in his arms and legs, and he struggles to talk as well. But he's got brain damage, and I got in the ring quite adamantly to support my son, which is fair enough. I've done it to support him, to get him a washroom, a walk-in washroom, all the apparatus he needs for his day-to-day regime. And the tax man has kicked me in the privates. Now taking £60 a month off my money, my earnings. It's earnings, isn't it? Because I'm doing this day in, day out, giving people good news, good valuable news. Rather than you sitting there, find out for yourself, giving it so you can just listen to it. You listen to it orally, can't you? Rather than reading it, give yourself a headache reading. I'm sitting here giving myself a headache to let you listen in, which you'll listen to it orally, quite comfortably, sitting in your chair, your work chair. I'm trying to give something back to the community as a good community stand-up human being. Like you guys, you're probably at work in your office, or you could be at home looking after your children. You're still a carer, you're still doing a job. So I'm giving you the same respect back that you're giving me, and I appreciate it so much. 45% were unable to claim the full amount according to the latest figures. I mean, LBC presenters, I mean, I want Proclamation News and Gabbers to take off. Maybe it ain't never going to be as big as LBC unless I get a team behind me that want to work as a philanthropist till we get support to get on FM. I mean, on Castbox, I could be on Podbean all at the same time if I wanted to podcast. I can be in all of it at the same time if I wanted to. I do get this on a multimedia channel where it goes onto Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Castbox all at the same time, but through one channel, which is phenomenal because the algorithm, the listeners that tune in is phenomenal. Sometimes I can get over 1,000 listeners in one setting of an hour show, so it's quite good. 45% of people claiming universal credit don't get the maximum allowance they should, according to the new report. The Mirror says almost half the people on the benefit are paying back debts to the DWP, meaning their monthly allowance is reduced. More than 1 million of the 2.2 million claimants being made in February this year were reduced. Many as people paid back what they had to borrow while they waited 5 weeks for their first payment. Some 49% of all deductions worth 86 million in February were to pay back the advance. The Department of Work and Pensions says the advance and payback system means people still get the same amount of benefit. But campaigners say the 5-week wait for universal credit payments should be scrapped. Another 60% of deductions, 28 million, were to pay back historic tax credit overpayments. Deductions can also be taken from benefit overpayments, court fines, or other debts. MP Chris Stevens, who obtained the data in Parliament, said deductions policy is cutting holes in the safety net and pulling hundreds of thousands of people's incomes below subsidy levels. The only way this policy can be scrapped is if the 5-week wait to receive a first payment is bridged with grants rather than loans, and the advice of former ministers is headed by writing off historic tax credit debt. Andrew Forsey, Director of Feeding Britain, said a workable proposal for bringing the 5-week wait has been presented with cross-party support to ministers. We believe its introduction is now being overdue. A failure to do so will sadly add the need for food banks. The maximum deduction is reduced to 25% of benefits in April, and people now have 2 years to pay back in advance, spreading their deductions more thinly over a longer time. I want to give a big shout out to food banks, because food banks, they're there to help the people that are struggling. I mean, not really there to help people that go and spend their money on alcoholism or narcotics, but you do get parents who struggle, financial struggle, you know. They've got CSA chasing them, they've got debts chasing them for the door because they've gone through a mental breakdown, they've lost their partner, or, you know, it could be man or woman. They've got to start their life again on their own. It's a shock to the system. You might need a food bank. I use a food bank. I hold my hands up. I use it not every month. I use it about once or twice a year in a time of a struggle. You know, I have financial difficulty. I've got a big family. Christmas comes up. I want to try and produce a little gift. Nothing major, because my family don't expect it, because I'm not in a situation where I can go, yeah, we're gonna this year I can fork out a nice Christmas. You know, I've worked hard. I've studied hard. I've been producing good news, good content. I'm not getting paid for it. It's a philanthropist job. It's a philanthropist job at the moment till the Exchequer, which is Sajid Javid, goes, this guy deserves a paycheck. He deserves to be part of, which I am. I'm part of the union. I'm part of the union, a critical thinker, because this is what I do day in, day out. If I see something's not well, my voice, my opinion is to be heard. It's to be, you know, I can help make a change within the UK. If I see something that's a protocol to change, I will make that awareness. If there's criminology in one area that needs to be dealt with, which police officers are trying to do so, they've done the same similar sort of courses I've been doing. You know, you've got to outline the instance, like this is keep happening in the same area of Essex, or the same area of Hertfordshire, or the same area of London. We need to get more policing in the area, or divide the sociological difference in that area. Maybe there's too many. Could be no good doers. The ASBO kids. It could be narcotics abuse going there. Drug dealers hitting the towns of, you know, the youth of today, trying to get a better education, better aspirations. That's what's causing the fragment of change. DWP Minister Will Quinn said, we carefully balance our duty to the taxpayer to recover overpayments with support for claimants. Will Quince is the MP of my constituent, and he works for the DWP. Safeguards are in place to ensure deductions are manageable. Customers can contact the department if they experience financial hardship in order to discuss a reduction in their rate of payment, depending on financial circumstances. I wish I knew a contact number, because yeah, I'm getting slapped heavily for working tax credits. Ladies and gents, I just want to say I'm ever so thankful for coming on the show. Horse racing worldwide. He's going to get banned on Facebook YouTube once I come off this channel. What a complete inconspicuous idiot. Inconspicuous idiot. I have no idea. Let's see if I can get him banned. We're going to report him. Anyone else on YouTube right now? We're going to report this guy for acting horrendous. Right, I'm reporting him now. Hate speech, yes, absolutely. It's harassment and bullying. No. Hate speech. We don't want to hear that. It would be banned on Facebook, YouTube. I'll report another. Put all them comments as much as you can. I'll report about 4 or 5. It will be banned on YouTube. Not just one comment. I want them all, every single one banned. I don't like things like that. It's not clever. I'm leaving them on there, so I should see all the content. He deserved to be banned. That is so irrational. No need for it on the political page, is there? Talking about politics, the biggest judiciary in the world, and you've got someone acting inhumane. I'd understand if it is a... No, I wouldn't understand at all. I wouldn't understand at all. Anyone giving any fascism, xenophobia, which I promote it all the time. It's horrific. There's no need for that word. Even if he is a dark skin colour, there's no need for that at all. That is horrific. Absolutely shocking. He deserves community service. Police need to really knuckle down on inhumane idiots like this. All they're doing, I'm reporting it, they're just removing the post. This is harassing. It's harassing someone. It's harassing me as well. I don't want to just to keep deleting his comments. I want them to block him off the whole thing because it's affecting him. I'm leaving some of the comments on there so you can see. I need to get rid of the bloke. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to end the show. Hope leaving some of the comments on there. I'm ever so sorry if it's affecting any of you in any shape or form, because ethos is the word. That is nothing coming from anyone I know, I hope, because they won't be a friend of mine. I can tell you that now. They're not a friend of mine. So it's not, like I say, when I say it's not no one I know, it could be someone I know, but that person I know is not a friend of mine. I'll clearly say it to his face. I'll clearly say it to, if he's here, that is so incompetent, incomprehensible, inappropriate. The guy has got inertia, a lack of something, a lack of oxygen to his brain cell. An absolute idiot. No need for it. If he is a mate, I'm thinking he's funny. I can promise you now, I'll no longer have his, if he is a mate, I'll no longer have his phone number in my phone book, because I keep my circle small. I've only got my mum, my dad, my sister, my brother, my children when they come round, and I've got another friend, which I hope to my God, high heaven, it's not him. I don't think he'd do anything inhumane like that. But you know what? Them sort of circles, I'll delete them out because they're not the sort of people I drink cup tea with. Anyway, God bless, take care, one love. I definitely know that ain't my mate, but I'm just saying that is not a good thing to do. That's how irrational I am, because a mate wouldn't do something like that. Jeopardise your dream job. Anyway, take care, one love, speak soon, God bless. If you want to report the rest of them, I appreciate it, but you want to leave a couple on this, hopefully YouTube will see it and shut his whole account down. Take care, God bless, speak soon. Everyone, cast